Okay, welcome back. Now joining Susie and me are some of the funniest women in comedy today. Our pal and co-creator of The Daily Show, Liz Winstead. The director of the documentary Women Aren't Funny, also a stand-up comedian, Bonnie McFarlane, and actress and comedian extraordinaire, Debi Gutierrez. So, you know, I really wanted everybody to get together it's like old times, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just hanging with your girlfriends.
The green room was fun.
And talk about being a woman in comedy, because we all know, you know, what the grenade looks like that we fell on. And one of the things people think about comedians is that we all had dysfunctional, horrible childhoods, that we were abused and victimized, and that's why we're like this. Is that your story, Liz?
Actually, no. My story was more that I'm the youngest of 5 kids in a Catholic family, and I just wanted to find a place where I could complete a sentence.
Yeah.
And first I wanted to be a priest, because the priest was up there and talking, and then after he was done, no matter how boring he was, people would go up to him afterwards and go, "That was so meaningful."
Yeah.
And I was like, no way. And then that didn't work out. So then I realized that somebody just dared me to get on stage and do comedy, and that 5 minutes was like, oh my God, I wanted this time, and now I got to fill it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a
It was
drug.
like a platform.
It was a platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Bonnie?
Well, I used to think that it was like if your mom was kind of cold to you, you'd become a female comedian, and if your dad was sort of, you know, distant, then you'd become a stripper. But I actually,
Is that what happened?
so I was a stripper for a little while, but I got so many laughs. No, I actually think I just like being creative, and I like bars. I like being able to drink while I work. So
that's the whole motivation?
That really is.
See,
yeah.
I always feel like you have to be an outsider of some sort to do this kind of work. They have to make fun of you in some way so that you develop a defense, a comedic defense.
Oh, they made fun of me, yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that as a baby, I remember, not baby, but I remember being aware of making people laugh, and then they liked you. Like you learn
Right.
as a kid, oh, I make these people laugh, and then they like me, and then it encourages that behavior.
Right, and you get away in school with murder. Yeah, Debbie.
I wanted to be a comedian, but my parents wouldn't allow it. They're like, you're going to go to college and get a degree. So I became a teacher. Now, this is when you really had to teach. You didn't have internet. You didn't have access to any of that. So I really had to bring alive Romeo and Juliet. You know, I really had to make it exciting for them. And then I found using comedy really helped. And so I just dovetailed right from teaching, I think you did too, right into comedy. You know, it was just such a natural place to go from there.
Yeah.
I didn't have any funny teachers. I wish I had you as a teacher.
Yeah, I mean, you had to,
Well, you couldn't really be funny as a teacher. You had to keep a straight face for 6 months, or they would make a living room out of you.
Yeah, the first 6 months, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You were just like,
Absolutely,
you didn't talk for 6 months.
What do you think of the stereotypes that about female comics?
Which ones?
What, that
Yeah,
they're
well, exactly. What are
beautiful,
We're all
winning,
Hilarious.
Successful.
They just
there's
think
so
we're all
many of
ball
them.
busters, right?
I think they think that we somehow have we get an extra pass because we're still a novelty in some weird way. I think that still happens, and we're ball busters.
I think we get a little bit of a pass. First of all, you know, it's so hard when they're trying to sell tickets for your show, and they're like, she's a girl, but she's really funny.
Yes.
And
I don't consider that a pass.
No, wait, I'm not done. So you realize that you have to get past that hurdle. But I think when you get on stage, just being a female, the audience kind of takes a breath and goes, okay, let's see what this is about. And I think they give you that first minute or so more than a guy.
Really?
Yeah, I do, because they're looking.
You must have just started. How long are you in the business?
I don't know.
19 years in the business.
Okay, so now 30 years in the business.
Yeah.
And the fact that if that's true, that the audience is still like that, is so disturbing to me that after 30 years of doing this, that nothing's changed in an audience. I mean,
40 years in the business, and
50 years in the business, 60 years in the business.
I am 87.
no, I think what happens, I honestly feel like it's the opposite. Like you get on stage and they're like, and then, but you know, if you say anything funny, then they're like, oh, you know, you can kind of like go above their expectations pretty easily. So
How was it like? What was it like in the clubs for all of you when you had to start? I mean, we started at Catch a Rising Star back in the day, the mid '80s.
Yeah, when
and
comedy was hot.
Yeah, and you really had to really kill on that stage, or else they wouldn't put you on.
Well, when I started, there was lots of girls doing stand-up, and I feel like there still is a lot of women that start. In the beginning, it's a lot more equal, male to female. It's not as
And
weird.
then the dropout rate?
And then it just starts to drop out.
Why?
I don't know.
Why is
Yeah.
that?
They will get married, have kids, I guess.
It's a tough business too. I mean, I'm married, I have kids, I made
Yeah.
it work, but
Well,
it's a tough.
ooh.
Susie, functional.
But it's a tough business, you know, and it's a business, and you've got to go in there, put your business head on, and not take anything personally, and just. I think being a mom too is I took every moment I had on stage and made it work. I didn't have time to just go, oh, I'm just going to go try out some material. I mean, I had to make it work the minute I stood on that stage.
That's what I always tell
So-
myself. It's like there's no just kind of like going up and having fun. It's
Exactly,
all
yeah.
like every set counts because I don't
Exactly.
have as many.
Oh, I know when they
sets.
go, just have fun up there.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
just smack them.
Yeah.
You have fun.
I also think too, part of it is that, you know, the good news is I think this is changing, but I still think that women wait to be asked for things. And so they wait to be asked to go on stage. They wait to be asked to develop a show. They wait to be asked to be cast in someone's show. And men don't wait for anything.
Entitled.
Yeah, you know, and so
Yeah.
we
Yes.
need to stop waiting for someone to ask us to do things because no one's ever asking, by the way.
It was interesting. I went to see, where I live upstate, I went to see like an open mic night. There was 26 comedians. And I noticed that all the women, a lot of them were really funny, but a lot of them were apologizing for their funniness. They were almost, you know, they weren't owning it in the way that a lot of the unfunny men were.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Men are just like, you have to have such an amount of delusion, especially when you start.
That's
and
right.
men just naturally have it.
That's right. It's a God-given gift.
Yes, yes. I mean, even if you just look at the way they look,
Yeah.
and they're walking around like they think they're hot.
Well, they would, at Casually days, remember, they'd get off the stage, they would pretty much bomb. And I'd say, how'd you do? I had a good time.
Yeah,
I'd say,
right.
oh, well, you're the only one, okay? Nobody else enjoyed it as much as you did.
We'd be on stage.
And we'd be scared and hating ourselves.
We'd be on stage killing a lot of times, and we'd walk off. That one guy on the left side
Right,
wasn't
yeah.
laughing, or that one joke didn't work, and we were much harder
That's
on
true.
ourselves.
But you know, the media doesn't help either. Like this whole thing with SNL, like, oh, all our men are leaving, the men are leaving, what are we going to do? And this season, they've got some fierce, funny, wonderful women. I've never seen them panic when they didn't have women, and there was seasons when they didn't have
On
women.
television.
Right,
Yeah, but
You know?
stand-up comedy is different from acting, though. It's acting in a sitcom is easier than doing what we do. I think
That's true.
I've done
Yeah,
both,
yeah.
and trust me, you're up there alone, and people. I describe it like this: I'm naked, and everybody else has clothes on.
Right.
That's how it feels.
It's true.
You know,
It's true.
And what about competitiveness with women? And I find that the men support each other. They support each other. They say, "Hey, look at this new movie. What's the movie with Chris Rock and
That her
Rob?
husband is
Her
one.
husband is in that."
Oh, no,
No, he's-
you're talking about a different one.
I'm
You're talking
talking
Oh,
about
the grown-ups too.
Yeah, grown-ups
Yeah,
too.
this,
Grown-Ups
it's all
1 and 2.
boys in the movie, and they
Yes.
all give each other jobs and everything. And I'm not sure if women are supportive of each other.
Well,
as
we
the
don't
men
have
are.
we don't have the power to give each other the jobs
That's
in
a
the
good
same
point.
way.
Well,
Yeah, we
I
don't
think
have the
now,
agency for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's, if you have the movie to cast, I'll cast all of you. Let somebody give me the power to do that.
I mean, you look at the show Girls. Lena Dunham has
Right.
a boatload of women who run that show,
Yeah,
write that
right.
show, direct that show, work on that show. She has said, "I have power. I'm hiring women," and it's great. And I think we all have done that. You know, I mean, we all know what it's like to be thrown in an all-women's, novelty act. I think we've
a million times.
a
we've
million
done it.
times, yeah.
Well,
But then
we're
again,
doing it
that's-
now.
Funnily enough,
But that's where
I
we
didn't
met.
even recognize that. I am so gender neutral.
Susie and I met down. Tell them where we met.
We met at Comedy U on University and 12th Street in 1983, doing the Thursday night all women's night.
That's right.
That's where we met. It was us and Rita Rudner and Carol Leifer and
That's amazing.
Margaret Smith.
Yeah,
So
Margaret Smith. A lot of people who've fallen by the wayside too.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's what you were saying. It's harder when you have a family, and just in everything's harder for a female.
It was really nice of them to have this one night a week where just women could work. Because you really, in the beginning, like you say, you need a lot of confidence. And you would go to these like bridge and tunnel type crowds where they're a little tougher. And the guys are drinking and the girls only laugh if the guys say it's okay to laugh. This is a lot of my experience. Yeah. And so downtown in the Village, we would go on stage on a Thursday night and it would be women's night. So they were actually there to see women. It was like heaven.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
And
when
we
you
developed.
and
We
you
developed
developed
the
your
material.
act,
You
we
also got to
developed
hang
like
out
that.
with other women, which
Yeah.
is
Yes,
so
build
rare.
relationships.
You know.
And compare notes.
Rarely funny, I think, does a guy here when they're booking, we just had a guy. We
right.
just had a guy headline for the week. So, because you don't get women that follow other women on the road, or if you pitch a friend's name who's a woman, they're like, well, we only have women like every 3 months. And, that still goes on.
Or they'd say, we're only going to put one woman on the bill and 2 guys.
Yeah.
And you say, well, can't Liz come with me and we could do the show? And they'd say, well, no, we're doing this for your benefit. Like, because you do a joke about your period, and then I'll do a joke about my period.
No,
That's
you
what
do a
they
joke
think.
about my period.
Or your
That's
period.
the whole. I mean, honestly, that's what's
That
so
was
crazy.
the fun of it. We do a joke about each other's period.
Yeah.
Well, you will be on the same cycle by the end of the weekend. So.
Okay.
The half of this panel has no cycle anymore, Bob.
Now we're doing menopause
We're in
jokes.
cycle.
We're talking about your hot flash. Now my hot flash.
We're going to take a break. We'll have more with Bonnie, Debbie, Liz, and Susie and me in just a minute.
When you ever run into an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend and you look at them and you think to yourself, was I in a deranged psychopathic dementia? Was I in a complete psychotic state when I was having sex with this man every night, twice on Fridays? I don't know.
Have you been to Nebraska? Have you? I'm telling you, Nebraska's proof that hell is full and the dead are walking the earth. It's the worst place ever.
I happen to like Jewish men. I do. I don't like Italian men. Italian men is like, yo, go get the ravioli. Get your own freaking ravioli. What do I look like, Mama Leone over here? I like a tall, skinny Jewish guy with an astigmatism. This is what I like. I do. The type of guy you say, Leonard, get the check, and they jump. I like that.
That was a clip of the Big Hair 3. Susie, Liz, and me a little bit earlier in our careers.
That was a rail.
We were thinner.
Yes.
But the hair was fatter.
You all had the same hairstyle.
No, I have to tell you that this is a very funny
Wait,
story.
let me just say, we're also joined by Bonnie McFarlane and Debi Gutierrez. Go ahead.
I was on a date and making out in my apartment
Right.
after this and flipping the channels, and that came on, and the guy goes, what the hell's with that chick's hair? And I go, that chick is me. It was unbelievable.
Oh, that's a weird one.
Wow.
Really awful.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah, it's hard to watch.
Oh, I liked it. I thought it was so
What
It
did
wasn't
like?
you up there, Bonnie, with big hair.
One thing that struck me was the aggressiveness of the comedian, of what we had to do. I'm not sure that I would be quite so ball-bustery.
But we had to be.
Yeah.
It was like you had to bang it out like that.
I am still.
Yeah.
No wonder no wonder we had trouble getting dates.
Oh, you had Steve then. You had your tall, skinny Jewish
I
guy with
did.
astigmatism.
I did.
But, that's one of the reasons why I think that at a certain level there are less female comics, because it's so aggressive. Because a lot of women don't feel comfortable with that kind of aggression, I think, is part
Well,
of it.
you mentioned Steve. When I met him, I was doing stand-up, and I was also had a full-time job at Good Morning America, so I was kind of in the closet about doing stand-up. I did not tell him for a year because I was afraid of exactly what I just watched. That he would just like shrivel up and and say, I can't do this woman, she's much too much.
Yeah.
And he rose to the occasion, so he was good. But still, it was like I was scared that I was going to really steamroll a guy. God.
I still get out there, bam, 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 bam. Like there's no fat in the first 5 minutes.
No
just
space.
none.
Yeah.
None. And just walk the stage and just let them know this is mine.
Well, you have to take
know?
control
You
right
have
away.
to, yeah. Whether
and
you're a
an
man or
audience
a
can
woman.
smell it the minute you
Yes.
walk on
Yeah.
stage. I learned that early. The
Yeah.
second you grab that mic, it has to be powerful and aggressive.
And I think that's the teaching background too, is you had to be, like you said, otherwise they'd make you furniture or
Yeah.
whatever. But just to get on stage and just own it and just bam, 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 bam. And once you do, then you can kind of pull back and go, okay, now the next 40 is going to be fun. Welcome to my party.
That's a good strategy.
But what about material? I mean, do you think political correctness has kind of changed uses of material?
Liz?
Well, I do political material, and I also do wildly politically incorrect material. So I don't think so anymore. I think that, I say this over and over again, I think everybody should say whatever the hell they want on stage, and just understand that the second it passes your lips, everybody who hears it gets to have an opinion about it, and all of a sudden you have handed them a reason to critique it. And so if you should love the material, you should hone it, you should be able to defend it. That's what I think.
But you can't. It's not private anymore. You can't go in a club. Everybody has a
That is
tape
a bummer.
recorder. Everybody
Yes.
has something. It goes on Twitter. You're on YouTube. Whatever. Everybody has your material now. It's
It
completely
used
different.
to be much more. It used to be like we were in this down and dirty club.
Yeah,
and it
that was
a private
good.
event, like
And
a
you
friar's
had time
roast.
to develop. You had time to develop your personality. It wasn't like a 5-minute, 7-minute. If you
Right.
have 20 minutes for the audience to fall in love with you, you can take them anywhere,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they
You know,
still
I think
like
if
you.
somebody opened up working rooms where you had to turn your phone in a bucket
Yeah.
to go in the room.
Well, there
like,
are-
because anything
People
can
wouldn't go.
No, they would
No,
go.
they would.
It would be cool. It would be cool if you. It doesn't have to be a big room. You can have a room with 30 seats.
I'd
And
take
I
a better phone when I left.
Oh, that's right. The likes of Bonnie
What
show
about
up.
this? What about this issue of what happened? It was a couple of weeks ago with Paula Dean versus the Lisa Lampanelli issue with the N words.
Tell them that the Lisa Lampanelli issue.
Lisa used in a tweet, which Liz, you have tweet.
No, she
issues.
used it also in her HBO special.
In her HBO
she
special.
uses the N-word quite vociferously and a lot also, and it makes you wonder. What's going? Is that okay to do that? She's not. She's
Paula
not
Dean was
African American.
vilified for it.
Right.
But Paula Dean's not a comic.
Lisa Lampanelli used to sleep with black guys, though.
Yeah.
So
So what? I had very, very kinky hair.
So Adolf Hitler slept with a Jew. That's okay?
Doesn't it just come down to what's the public outcry with it? Lisa Lampanelli obviously has not been punished for the way that she chooses to use that word, or her critics. She does not value what her critics say, and it has not toppled her. Paula Dean is a chef who is a nightmare.
You're right. No, it's a different context. One is a comedian,
Yeah.
and one is a chef, and how comedians use words are different.
Well, then
Speaking
again,
of
there's-
which, let's watch a clip of Debbie.
Oh.
You know what's funny is for this gig they said they sent out a wardrobe note and they said stilettos, like they have to tell a Latina to wear stilettos, right? Where's the Latinas? Where are you? Woo! Stay, because we have to clean up. Anyway,
You're so cute.
Debbie, challenges of being female, Latina, what's...
Anything?
We're all white girls, so we
yeah,
don't know.
I try to stay out of the Latino rooms. I don't like to work those nights because it feels like everybody has the same experience, or they claim they have the same experience. And they get that I'm Latina. They can see it. So I'll do like a joke here or there. But I try to stay away from the whole, I'm Latina, because then you get into that.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. You could do like the comedian that does an hour of fat jokes. We get it. We saw you were fat when
And
you
then
came
you
on
lose
stage.
weight and you lose your act.
You lose your act, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I try to, of course, we're going to acknowledge whatever they see on stage. I'm short, I'm Latina, whatever it is, and then move on to things that include all of us.
Well, you want to be personal too. You want to say what you are, where you
Yeah.
came from. That makes your stuff more original, but don't
Right.
dwell on it.
Exactly.
Bill Cosby, to his credit, I think, never mentioned anything about being a black person when in his act.
Right.
Over the years,
Yeah.
he talks about being a father, about having kids. Made up a story about Noah and his ark. Not one time did he say
Noah
he
was
Af-
black, so.
and at the end,
And pudding is brown.
and at the end, they see my husband as their husband. They see my kids as their kids.
That's good.
All of a sudden, they cross over into, I'm just like her.
Relatability.
Relatability.
It's money in the bank.
Exactly.
Before we get off the topic of political correctness, I wanted to ask you, Liz, because you got in trouble for a tweet you gave last year, and it was painful for you, the blowback that you got.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
So what happened was, I do a lot of political material. My act is basically that. And so through the course of the past 10 years, starting at 9/11 through the Haiti earthquake, Katrina, blah, 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 every time there's been a natural disaster, they blame the gays or the feminists or the liberals, right? I mean, just every time
Yes.
they do. So the tornado was coming, it hadn't landed in Oklahoma, and so I tweeted, I guess the conservatives did something to deserve the tornado, or something. I can't remember exactly what the tweet was.
Being ironic.
Yeah, being ironic, blaming, kind of taking on the people who say that. So I tweeted it, I went about my business, I came home to a horror storm of people saying, how dare you, people died, blah, 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 and I turned on the TV and people had died, and so I took the tweet down and I said, you know what? I apologize for this tweet because I wasn't very clear when I said it. If I thought I wrote a really good tornado joke, I would have stood by it.
Yeah.
But I feel like I didn't write a really good tornado joke. I wrote one that should have been a little bit more overt. right?
Well, you needed more of a setup.
I needed more of a setup, but
Yeah.
I assumed because it literally happened with every single thing that people understood and they didn't. So I said, I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'll take it down. In fact, I said, I'll leave it up. You can say it and go ahead and crap all over me. I'm willing to take it. Well, Rush Limbaugh went crazy. She really means it. It was all over the place.
Oh,
and I
of
felt
course.
really bad because it was an hour and a half time that was spent of the tweet being up and then me saying, I'm sorry, and taking it down. Cut to the horrible things that are said constantly where people just get away with it and still have shows.
So are you a little bit skittish about tweeting now?
Not at all. Because at that moment, I felt really bad that that it was. I just felt bad for a lot of reasons, and I think the biggest one was that I said something that could be perceived as taking on the
Insensitive,
victims
yeah,
when it's not what I do ever.
right.
And so, because it was unclear, I was more than willing to take the hit for it.
But it is dangerous. Twitter. Look at what happened to Gilbert
Gilbert.
Gottfried.
No, I agree, but that's the
He
whole
made a
thing
joke about the
it.
tsunami in Japan, and he lost his job at Affleck.
Yeah.
He was that
Comedy's
duck.
dangerous, though. You know
It's
what? And that's the
dangerous.
thing. You don't know what the line is. You don't know who you're going to upset. And
if you play it safe,
You don't have an act.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take another break. We'll be back in a minute. And still to come, best-selling author Augustin Burroughs is here.
I think the written.
They're not funny. They're not funny. There's more funny guys that I went to high school with who are like mechanics than funny female comedians.
But yeah, no, I don't find a lot of women funny. Do you?
I'll ask the questions.
Everybody's funny. It doesn't matter if you're a guy or girl. It wasn't until I got in the clubs that I was like, wow, there's a lot of female comedians.
That was a clip from the documentary Women Aren't Funny, which my guest Bonnie McFarlane made with her husband, Rich Voss.
And they're both funny.
Are you guys still together, by the way?
Yeah, we got life insurance, so it's a waiting game.
That's so funny. You see, Jerry Lewis famously says women are not funny, and Christopher Hitchens, he's dead now, he also said women are not funny.
It's also not alive.
I know. See what happens when you say that?
Honestly, I'm so tired of that subject that it's even discussed. I don't give a crap if they think I'm funny or not.
I know, nobody cares.
It's just, enough.
It's not for them. I don't want to have sex with them either.
Yeah.
Gross.
Also, we don't think they're funny. That's the part that's tricky.
I know.
We don't have. I mean, Sarah Silverman, she said about Jerry Lewis, who cares if a 90-year-old Jerry Lewis thinks women aren't funny?
It's true.
You know, she threw in the age thing. Tina Fey said, when someone says to me, Jerry Lewis says women aren't funny, or Christopher Hitchens says women aren't funny, do you have to say anything to that? Yes. We don't care if you like it. Tina.
I think what was so upsetting about that is when the question was asked of him, it was asked about women like Lucille Ball. You know, it
Who was not a stand-up, was a comedian. She was
Right.
an actress.
He offered it up
It's
again,
different.
though. Like this is. Oh yeah, recently he offered it up again.
Jerry, yeah.
Well, he'll be dead
this
soon,
is
so don't
time
worry.
for this
Yes.
is
It's time for him to go
I
break
know.
a hip.
As I said after he said that,
What
he'll
would you
always
have
walk along.
done? What would you have done if you weren't a comedian?
A writer.
Writer?
Definitely
Liz?
Probably chef.
Chef,
Really?
Chef.
So was
Debbie?
it skinny
Very
teacher?
creative.
Teacher.
Miss it every day.
You know what I
What?
would have. Shrink, of course.
Decorator.
I almost was a shrink. There was a road not taken, and it was either going to be a stand-up comedian or a shrink. But there was too much.
think they're the
There was
same
too
thing.
much to read.
No, you know what? Also, I could just picture you with a boring patient that you would have just stood up and just been like, "You're boring the living daylights out of me."
Shut up already.
Here's
about
what
your mother.
you do. Forgive and move on.
I mean, I say to myself, if I knew how difficult it would have been, because it's been rough. It's not an easy road to hoe. And I'm
Hoe being the operative word.
a hard hoe to road. But I don't think I would have done it if I knew how difficult it would have been. I don't know if someone said to me, you're going to have to stand up at 2 in the morning and make 3 drunks from New Jersey laugh, and you're going to get lost on the Jersey Turnpike. You're going to be with people who are drinking, who are going to bang their tables while you're up there. I don't know if I would have. I would have said, I'm not doing that. What am I, nuts?
I would have. I still would have done it because I think that you don't do it unless you have to do it. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
And I had to do it, as did you, because I.
Well, I
Wait,
needed the money.
It's a vital organ for those that stay in it this long and weather it. It's literally part of your that keeps you alive. It's your existence.
And when you get good gigs, you remember those days that you ate out of a suitcase and you did your hair in an airport bathroom because you were just sliding into the club, and being a woman that you didn't have friends, that the guys wouldn't talk to you, the feature wasn't going to talk to you, the MC wasn't going to talk to you. You remember those days. And Phyllis Diller used to say, every day I eat a little bit of that shit to remember what it tastes like. And I remember that, you know.
She said that,
yeah.
Phyllis Diller.
Yeah, every day you
God
eat a
bless her.
teaspoon of that.
She's a great person
was.
too. And okay.
And a groundbreaker.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Bad breath, though.
Oh, really?
That was not necessary.
She meant from eating the Yeah. I'm with you. Let me take you through that.
Oh, I see.
See, on
Okay,
Twitter,
sorry.
Twitter would have had you. Joy would have been. Oh, see?
The setup needs to be closer to the punchline. That's what we've learned from this experience.
Timing.
Thank you, ladies, very much. Susie, my darling, thank you. And you can pick up a copy of Liz's book, Liz Free or Die, in stores now. You can go to DebiOnTheWeb.com. On the what? How does it go?
Debi on the web.
DebiOnTheWeb.com. Oh, very good. To learn where you can see Debi in person. Up next, New York Times best-selling author Augustin Burroughs is here with tips on how to survive just about any crisis. And Susie and I are going to ask him all sorts of questions to help us, right?
Absolutely.
Thank